light and heat. Time to take a stand, boys, time to make a choice. Time to find our courage, time to be deployed. Make our only stand here, make our roads complete. All we waited for now, past and future meet. Get your weapons ready, kiss loved ones goodbye. Now our time is coming, and it is not the time to cry. Settle wrong from right. In the time of conflict, when the bullets fly, in the space of seconds, a life you cannot buy. Face the facts before you, face the simple truth. We're hopelessly outnumbered, it's tragic but it's true. Make your last formation, take the final road. Now it's time for endings, now it's time to go. I have nothing else clever to add to that tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody. Hello, everybody, to the stream. And actually, the guys at Stoic, and I will tell them this directly in just a second, are so good that they've not only been tweeting this out, they have also been here like right on time. And as you can tell, there's some of them already in here. So John Watson and Arnie Jorgensen are already here, and I'm going to add them on Skype in just a minute. Let me just say a couple of things. First of all, I noticed that my scroll is messed up. I'll have to fix that. Anyway, hello to everybody. Hi, Cujo. Hi, Waffles. Law, what is up, Sir Tifi? Hello, Burner. Hello, Love Shack. Hey, Pac, what's up? What is going on? Mill Eric, hello, welcome. Hello, Gray. Hello, I think I've got everybody there. Burner, what's up, everybody? It is a pleasure to see everyone tonight, and this is a very special stream because we have some guests on to talk about the Banner Saga, which I am I'm a big fan. I am hugely impressed with it, and I hope some interesting questions for these folks, and they will have some good conversation. Just a couple things to keep in mind before I get started. Just one quick reminder: we've just passed our second stretch goal on Icarus, which I'm extremely excited about. As you can see in your screen right there, we're up to 10,661. The next, so that means we have an illustrated short story coming from Maxwell Alexander Drake and illustrated by Cyril Vanderhagen. And next up is 11.5, a free download of Drake's novel Farmers and Mercenaries. That's for all backers $10 and up. And after that, we move into stories by Michael Stackpole and art by Jason Engel. So So a lot of cool things down the line. We still have 13 days to go, so we still got about 2 weeks to go in this Kickstarter. So please, if you haven't already, back it, spread the word, and do all that cool stuff, because that would really be neat. Okay, now I'm going to bring these gentlemen in just a second for the Banner Saga. The only other thing I want to mention is I'm going to start by asking these folks some questions, and then chat, which is amazing and wonderful. We will be getting more people in throughout the course of the night. I'm going to ask everybody to sort of hold off a little bit on questions until I've had a chance to ask a few, and then I'll say, okay, go crazy and ask these guys some questions, and then they will be kind enough to do it. We have two of the devs joining us, as I said, Arnie Jorgensen and John Watson from Stoic Studios. These guys are the best, and I am looking forward to doing this. So let me get them on right now, he said. Let's start with, I'm going to start with getting John on here. Let me see.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hey.
Hi, pleasure. Greg Wilson, my Twitch people know me as Arvin Eleron. Thanks for being on here, man.
All right, no problem.
And let me just add Arnie into the mix as well.
Okay.
Which should happen right now. Okay, bringing him in now.
All right.
I think I'm already here, am I not?
Yeah, I think you are. We didn't get any sound. Hi, Arnie. Arvin Eleron, Greg Wilson in real life, but Arnie Eleron. How are you?
Really good. It's awesome to be on tonight. If I sound a little scratchy in the voice, it's because we got some allergies here in Austin.
Oh, yeah, I hear that.
Hey, Arnie, do you have a headset? You're extremely echoey.
I do have a headset. Is it not working well?
Oh, do you have the headset
already?
on now? It's a little echoey, yeah. But it's not a big deal. I mean, if we can work around it either way, but we can hear you, which is the big thing.
I think it's because you're sitting in an echo chamber.
That's probably the idea. All right, so chat. Everybody say hello, please, to Arnie and John, who have joined us from Stoic Studios. And just so you guys know, I mentioned this to you on Skype, but I'll just remind you again that there is about a 15-second delay between the stream. So when I say something and they don't respond immediately, it's not because they hate us. It's because that'll take a little while for them to respond. So that's what that is about.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to try to unplug my headset. We'll see if it sounds better.
Okay.
Arnie and John, who have joined us from Stoic Studios. And just so you guys know, I mentioned this to you on Skype, but I'll just remind you again that there is about a 15-second delay between the stream. So when I say something and they don't respond immediately, it's not because they hate us.
That's probably not going to work, I'm afraid, because I'm getting feedback from myself.
That's what that is about.
Okay, I'm going to try to unplug my headset. We'll see if it sounds better.
Okay.
Yeah, so Arnie, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I am getting feedback, so that's probably not going to work.
Okay, I'll put my headphones back on.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work.
Woo, that's better. Yeah, we'll stick with that. We will stick with that. So,
right.
Yeah, so thank you guys both so much. I really appreciate it, and I do want to go on record as saying that I've had I've had some authors and devs from the Shadowrun Returns game. I had them earlier in the year. I've had the dev from Paper Sorcerer, and I've had people stop by from Telltale to talk about The Wolf Among Us. But I would say to this point, you guys have been the most responsive. So congratulations on that. It is hard to get a hold of some studios, but you were not that way. So thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Great, no problem. Well, you caught us in the weeks after launch, and we got our patch out. So we're sort of trying to wind down from the momentum. It's sometimes hard to stop. We're trying to get some rest.
That's true. Have you been able to get any rest since then? I mean, because this thing is blown up, obviously, and it's doing extremely well. So, I mean, is this just one interview / appearance / patch, session to the next? Or
Yeah, up through last Friday, we were working every day, normal, all day long, dealing with patches and interviews and stuff. And as of this week, Alex and Arnie are officially taking a break, and I'm still working, but I'm working on the localization stuff.
Okay.
And but because I'm working from home and I'm like getting up when I want to get up and just sitting here in my bathrobe working all day, and working in an enjoyable way where I'm just sort of doing it at my own pace and just having a good time instead of like rushing to finish something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and that is actually was something I was going to ask you guys. We have the game that we'll get started on here in a minute, so I can play while we talk about it. But I'm curious a little bit, I guess, about the overall cycle because you funded this. Now, this went through Kickstarter last year, right? Is when you guys did this?
2012.
Oh, 2012. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was April 2012.
Okay, so did you feel, because obviously one of the big things that I know that programmers certainly complain about and developers in general is having, being rushed to get something else out on time. So were you conscious that you had a particular deadline that you set for yourself, an obligation you had to fill? Was there danger about having lots of slips in that deadline? I'm just curious for you guys, because especially because you're a small studio too.
We definitely wanted to get it out to people as soon as possible. I mean, we don't want to keep people waiting any longer than they have to, but our main concern really was to make the game right, and however long it's going to take, it's just going to take that long. And we know that people who backed the game and wanted the game that we described would much rather have the game done right and at some point in the future than have it out right this moment half-assed. Mm-hmm. So, we on one hand, yeah, of course, we want to get it out as quickly as possible because people want it and they're waiting for it. But it's not like that wasn't our main concern really. Our main concern was getting it done correctly, and yeah, that's really what it was all about.
Yeah, for sure.
It was probably pushed more by ourselves because even though we got a lot more funding than we thought we would. It actually hurt us because by taking longer, it sucked from our savings a lot longer. So it's funny when people are like, "Hey, you guys got to get this game out." And we're thinking, "Yeah, we do." We
before the bank comes calling, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We had about a year's worth of savings each when we went into this saying we have to do a game in a year, and we really scrimped and saved for the second year of development on the Banner Saga, and so we were kind of we came down to about 3 different deadlines before finally launching this thing. Really digging deep. At this point.
We didn't take pay from the Kickstarter funds. We used that all for development, and we basically lived off of our savings, like Arnie was saying. So, as you see that money just burning down to nothing, and then you see your debt starting to pile up on top of that, you're like, all right, we gotta go quickly. But
and we originally planned to launch in November, and we didn't feel we were there yet, so we had to take a couple extra months, and that's when it was really touch and go because we burned down to literally less than nothing at that point. But it was the right maneuver, I think, because now we have a much better game for it.
Yeah, we probably could have been done in November technically, but the game wouldn't have had nearly as much polish. I mean, we're like, well, we could finish it in November, but we won't have enough time just to let it digest and play it over and over again and really tune it. So so we just decided to go to January because it's kind of a window there. If you don't get in before the rush, like before the new consoles come out in mid-November, then you might as well just wait till January.
Right, when that hype has died down a little bit. It's interesting.
Get buried.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting because I actually wanted to ask about that because what you're describing is something I've heard from a lot of people about how. So I've heard some people talk about the idea that people sometimes put all their eggs in this one basket, and they've got this one project, and that's the only thing they're focused on. But for you guys, even though the Kickstarter had $723,886, which is incredible and is, I believe, 7 times the original goal you guys had set. But even though there was that amount of money involved, it wasn't like that money was like we're going to make the same game that we were going to make at 100,000 and then we get 600,000 profit. It just meant that it became that much more awesome, right? I mean, essentially
that's exactly what happened. I mean, with collaboration with Austin Wintry, with bringing Compal on board, with being able to pay Powerhouse to do animation, all that stuff was different, and so we basically made the game that we had envisioned and that we had pitched, except better, bigger, more beautiful, sounds better. Like just everything about it is better, but it's still the same game, just way more higher production values.
Interestingly enough, one of the things that we always say about Kickstarter is a lot of people say, well, you guys made a lot of money off Kickstarter. But I think the real bonus to Kickstarter for indie developers like ourselves is you get to gauge the interest in the game that you're doing
Right.
before spending a whole year on it, putting it out and going, oh, I guess nobody wanted this game.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So it really gave us a kick in the pants. Say, you know what, people do want this game. Let's make it as good as we possibly can. And so even though we went longer than our budgets were allowed, than we should have for our budgets, we felt really confident in doing so.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the other hand, with that Kickstarter success, there's several different things that affect us. One is that, all these people now, 20,000 people contributed. 20,000 people have various ideas about what they imagine the game to be, because we showed them a prototype, and we showed them, if you go back and look at the Kickstarter pitch video, the prototype that we had at that time looks pretty darn similar to what we ended up with. What we ended up with looks better, but it's basically, we showed you, this is what the game is going to be like.
Yeah.
But people had lots of other ideas that they just kind of imagined the game would be like. And then when you beat your goal by that much, they're going to have higher expectations as well. So when we were first setting out as an indie studio with no funding, we were going to do a game quickly in a year. It would have been a very similar game in the sense that it would be story-driven, tactical combat, and the overall story arc would be the same or similar. But it would have been way more just raw, and people would have enjoyed it that like that kind of game. And if we would have released that after getting 700K and pocketing the rest, people would have been upset. I think. I mean, that's not the expectation that people have. If you go over that far, they want you to use that, put that to good use somehow. Nobody really, the people giving the money don't necessarily know what that means. Like, I don't know how they're going to make it better, but here's some more money. I like your idea. I want you to make it better. So we had to figure out how to use that money effectively, and I think we did. I'm really pleased with the effectiveness that we deployed that cash and the efficiency. I think we did a good job with that, if I don't mind saying so myself.
Well, you're gonna get a lot of praise from me throughout most of this, so I'll lay it on you if you don't lay it on yourself. So
for most people that run a Kickstarter, especially for small indie teams, which they usually are, I think our advice to them from now on is, if you ever do stretch goals, also add to that, this is how much longer the game's going to take us to do.
Oh, yeah.
You can't say, hey, we'll do this, that, and then forget to mention, oh, yeah, and the game's going to take 6 months to a year longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we probably should have done that. But, honestly, we weren't even thinking about that at the time. It's a full-time job just running a Kickstarter. And, we just figured, people, of course, know this, and they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually, because were you surprised at the level of response? I mean, now you guys obviously came with serious pedigrees from BioWare, and so I assume when you were looking at the idea for it and the concept for it, you were aware that you had something pretty good on your hands. But that scope is the thing that surprises me. The 20,000 people are like, yes, please make this game for us. Were you surprised at the level of response that you got to this?
Yes.
Okay.
we knew that people wanted it already, because we had announced the game maybe 3 or 4 weeks earlier, and people were excited and people were talking about it and they liked what they saw. So we knew that people were already interested. It was hard to gauge how many people, and we were in the days leading up to the start of the Kickstarter, we were debating amongst ourselves what we should ask for. Partly, what do we have? What are our prospects? Like, what can we actually reasonably get? And what are people expecting us to ask for? We were planning on asking for 30K for the longest time, which we thought was like an outside. That's a real stretch at the time. And then while we were putting together our campaign before we launched, Double Fine launched theirs and went crazy. And then there was this huge mass awareness of Kickstarter, and we heard people talking on podcasts about it, and people were expecting these great things from us. We heard them talking about it, and
one literally said, Double Fine launched their Kickstarter, and the Banner Saga will be even bigger than that. And we looked at each other saying, "Wait, what?"
No pressure at all, right? Yeah.
So in some ways, we had to rise to that level of expectation.
And even and the expectations are what those people see as reality, even if it's not exactly reality. I mean, we're not celebrities like Tim Schafer, and it's not the same thing. But on the other hand, if people are expecting these big things, and you come out of the gate asking for 30K when they're expecting you to ask for hundreds of thousands, that creates a bit of cognitive dissonance as well. They're like, oh, wait a second, maybe this game isn't so cool after all. So we debated going to 100, asking for 100K. Like up the day before we launched, we were in the office. We had like a special. We gathered and we were sitting there debating whether or not we should ask for 100K. And you're like, I think we can do it. Like I think we can get to that.
No, you were like that. I said no.
Yeah, that's right. I was optimistic, but I wasn't thinking in a day. I was like, we can get 100K. We have 30 days to do it. You know, there's look at the number of Facebook followers we have. Look at the number of Twitter followers we have. Extrapolate that a little bit. And I was a math major in school, so I like creating arbitrary mathematical models that support my hypothesis.
Oh, really?
No matter how strained they may be.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind creating an abstract mathematical model to show how my Kickstarter is going to finish up its last 2 weeks, that would be awesome. If you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate that. Well, let's actually get into playing the game a little bit. I did have a chance to play this already, which is why I'm so impressed, but I want to talk about some aspects of the game as well. And one of the things, Arnie, I want to throw at you, now some of these things I are things that I have already read about, and I've already done some research on this, but for people who don't know, I want to ask about the overall inspiration overall for what you were thinking about with the game, and then Arnie, I want to ask you about the art style. But let me start with the inspiration of the game as I load up here. So either one of you can take that. I mean, what was who came up with the idea first? Was it all three of you said Norse and RPG, and what was your thought?
It was Alex came up with the base idea of the whole, the different pillars of gameplay, and his idea was more of a medieval. I don't want to say run of the mill, but knights in armor and mages, and he and I started talking about it. And I've come from a background that my name is Arnold Tang Jorgensen, and all the way back into ancient Denmark, my family's been named Tang from a Viking raid. I mean, so I've always been raised on the whole Danish Viking thing. And so when he came up with this idea, I said, well, how about we do Vikings? I had no idea about Skyrim or anything else. So he said, yeah, that's really cool. So we kind of went with it and delved deeper into some of the Viking mythos, and started riffing on that stuff, making up our own world. So it started off with Alex had the base idea of the whole game, and then I said, how about Vikings? And actually at that point is when I knew I've worked with John for maybe a decade before this. John and I worked together for a long time, and I called up John saying, hey, have you ever thought about leaving BioWare to do your own thing? And on the phone, he literally said, I would leave yesterday if I could. So we said, great. So we met over at lunch and moved with a couple of wrinkles in it. The rest was history.
Wow, and one of the things that's really nice about it is I think there's a real coherency to the way everything functions together. Nothing really feels out of place. Right. It seems to me, and I think that's sort of a testament to the fact that you guys all bought in. Once you came up with this idea, you all bought in collectively to it. So
go on, John.
Although the setting is sort of alludes to Norse mythology, it's inspired by Norse mythology. It doesn't talk about it directly, or it's a different world, basically. Over the last 2 years, I've pretty much consumed every bit of Viking literature and information that I could find. Like I've become a quasi-expert on Norse mythology just because of this project, and my daughter as well. We have multiple mythology books that we've read through, and she knows as much as I do about the gods of the Northmen.
That's the fun. That's the fun kind of research, though, right? I would assume.
Great. Yeah, we've all been reading our kids, little children's stories of Viking myths and whatnot ever since we started this thing. But some of we put in some really subtle, small details that actually go directly into some of the Viking myths. There's a battle board in factions with a boat that they're either salvaging or building. You see two little feet marks in it. And that's from the story of Thor when he was fighting Jormungand on the seas, and his feet went straight through the boat. And that's not the only one. We've got quite a few in this game. Little Easter eggs if you know anything about Norse mythology.
It's really interesting, and I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't talk about the other thing that stands out. So one thing is that, and when we get into combat, I'll have something to talk to John about, who I suspect concentrated a little bit on that, given what you did at BioWare, John. But I want to ask about the art style, Arnie, from you. I know that you guys said initially your inspiration, a lot of it was Disney-style animation, but I was thinking, Don Bluth, early Hobbit animated. This reminds me of 80s movie cartoons of my childhood. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you were thinking about art style wise.
A lot of people said Don Bluth, Rankin and Bass, Bilibin. It really did come directly down from Ivan Durrell, who was the art director on Sleeping Beauty for Disney. Everything except for the characters. The characters, I really didn't look at anybody's stuff. I just kind of relied on my own design through the years, and I kind of made them a little more fanciful, a little bit more colorful to go in with an Ivan Durrell world. But you can see that the characters are a lot more realistic than you would see in a Disney film, and that was to go with a more mature storyline that we were pushing. The interesting thing about that is when you look at Ivan Durrell, his backgrounds. The backgrounds for Sleeping Beauty were actually done by Ivan Durrell, and they're really graphic and really detailed. The interiors were done by different Disney artists, and they were actually done in a different style. So in this game, we were trying to match that. When you see the world travel scenes and any of the landscapes, they're kind of done in a little bit more graphic style than the interiors. Mm-hmm. So we were trying to carry that through as well. We got to the Ivan Durrell because after talking about this and what kind of game are we doing, this and that, I actually showed Alex and John some Ivan Durrell pictures, and they go, "This would be awesome, an awesome world to live in." So I went off and kind of did a sketch of what I thought that could look like. And actually, the picture right now that we're looking at, with Luden and Hakon in the foreground, the background is the very first picture I ever drew for this game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that was all part of my plan.
Right.
You'll set up the way.
Oddly
Cool.
enough, it goes well with this conversation. So I did a sketch of saying, okay, if we did an Ivan Durrell, style, maybe it could look like this. And I had it on 7 different layers, and it was parallaxing, and Alex did a little bit with particles. And we showed it to John, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, let's totally do this." And ever since then, we never looked back. It was done, right from that point. The only thing we really played with back and forth was the characters. The characters, since I didn't really like what Disney was doing, I didn't want to do big noses and, oversized this or that.
Right.
We tried all different styles. I tried fully rendering them. I painted them, which is a much more comfortable style for myself. And I kept coming back with the simple line work and flood fill colors. And but we said, can we do this? Would anybody want to see characters like this? Do they look too basic? Everybody expects shading and shadows now. And it really didn't matter eventually. We said, you know what, we're making the game that we want to make, let's just do it. And it's been really cool that people have been this into it,
I think it's largely because there's a kind of, and I said this about the coherency of the overall game, there's a commitment to the style that I think people appreciate. And I don't know, you obviously would know more about this as an artist than I would, but it strikes me that the danger of going too far down the line, that what they talk about as the uncanny problem, right? Where you start, right. It becomes so realistic that it starts looking disturbing and not, you are ultimately playing a game. And if I look at games like Paper Sorcerer that has a very unusual art style, but distinctive in its own way, I don't know. It seems that this way you guys didn't have to worry about fighting to get that nth extra pixel per, whatever, right?
I completely agree. And you don't look at them saying they look weird, even though they're, you're looking at Hakon really, he's blinking. You see his arm, his shoulder moving. Some characters are animated more than others. And it's because we have 3 people on our team and we're kind of running out of time. But you don't notice it so much. Hakon doesn't look like he's oddly looking at you. He's just an animated character.
Right.
So I totally agree. It really helped us with that.
Yeah. One of the challenges we had was just the sheer size of the textures. Like when you're taking your caravan across from Strand to Ridgehorn, that section there, I think, Arnie, you might remember better, but it's something like 25,000 pixels across if you were to render the whole thing at once. Wow. So we definitely had to shuffle. How do you put all this stuff in memory? How do you render parts of it at a time?
Which seems staggering for a small team like you guys. This is the kind of thing that would take, that typically I would assume BioWare would be putting an entire department on, and there's just the 3 of you. And I'm wondering about that. Did you have to essentially develop new techniques on the fly, sort of boldly go, as it were, where no one has gone before to get some of this done, or what?
We sure did. From my standpoint, I just had to kind of work in a different style than I was used to. And other than that, I'm not really used to putting things in game engines because I've been purely a concept artist in the past, which is basically hand off JPEGs or put them in a folder for someone else to build.
Right.
So that was a lot of work for me. But beyond what I did, I really, in every interview I have, I give most all the credit for this stuff to John because he's been wearing the, basically 5 programmer hats during the whole course of this, and he basically did the entire thing with just by himself. All the any of the optimization that we needed, any of the multiplayer stuff, the server-side stuff, the client-side stuff. I mean, everything's. He implemented all the UIs for the Saga.
Wow.
Factions, we had a little bit of help, but then we didn't make enough money off factions, so we really did just 3 of us on the Saga.
It's really.
So I think, John's really he's done about the work of 5 programmers.
Yeah, I think there ended up being about 300,000 lines of code in the game.
Good Lord.
Which was some pretty fast coding.
But I have to say, I mean, about that, it's staggering to me that there are as few noticeable anyway bugs. I mean, I would think that it would be almost inconceivable that you'd be able to get it. I mean, maybe I just haven't run into them yet, and as soon as you guys log off, it'll be hit with 7,000 game-breaking ones.
I can tell you, we used about $20,000, I think, $25,000 on QA. And we use this outsourced QA group called Sculpin. They're in Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And that's why the game is so bug-free, because we had multiple people testing the game every day for the last 2 months of development. And near the end, we would just have these cadences where they're 2 hours ahead of us in Atlantic time. So they would, by the time lunchtime rolled around for us, they would have fully tested the game, and have bugs for us to start fixing. And
like we said though, I think we learned that lesson. We've been in the business for a long time, but working on what you're used to working on, and then running your own company, running your own business, and getting a game to market is another thing entirely. Mm-hmm. And I think we learned a major lesson when we were trying to get factions out, that when we had to do builds and do play tests, we would just do it ourselves, and we'd go through these huge checklists checking factions. If we wanted to change one thing in factions, it would knock us down for a whole day of everybody testing.
At least.
And we couldn't possibly do that on a game the size of the Banner Saga. So it was really cool that we could employ them.
That's really, and I mean, and part of it, I think, as you guys say, was sort of having to be able to use, I guess, other people you could outsource this work to. And I mean, did your time at BioWare prepare you guys to be aware of what you were going to need for that sort of thing? Because as you say, you're no longer, in your case, Arnie, just, doing the concept art in your own department, in your own world. I mean, you've got to be crossing over from one world to the next. So did sort of your exposure at BioWare help you to know it? Because I would think I'd just sit down and go, what do I do to get to all this, from those ideas?
Boy, it's really hard to say. It wasn't just BioWare. I mean, I was a head production designer at Sony.
Sure.
Just lead concept artist at Retro. And I'm only saying all this stuff because it really didn't prepare me for working on the breadth of stuff that we did.
Okay.
And especially, even after we launched the game, and now we have 20,000 people that we're doing customer service for. So every day people are writing in, I need my keys, it's not working, this and that. And I'm answering them personally. And John did that for a while. I did that. And now we have our office manager doing that. But no, there was really nothing except for a learning experience during the making of factions that really helped us get the Saga out. A lot of people ask us, was it a mistake to go with factions? Because you got a lot of negativity from it. For one, we had to because we said we would in our Kickstarter pitch. But for another, man, it really helped us work out a lot of kinks before going on to the Saga.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially in the user interface.
So we learned as we went, I guess, is my answer.
Yeah, the whole process, the 2 years. I mean, for me, it was a great learning experience, because I had to do so many different things. As a programmer, especially if you're working in a large company on a large project, you can end up working on the same systems for years and years at a time, and it can get boring, or you can become stagnated. And on this project, it was a constant learning experience. However, I mean, it was definitely a huge advantage to have the experience that we did, as a programmer working on these systems, hopefully a lot of the time, some of the time, you have to make a new system. You're like, all right, I've done something like this before. I know how this should be. I don't have to invent some new thing that I've never seen before.
Right,
I know how this rendering should work. I know how a conversation tree should work. I know how, splines work. Like, I have all these tools that I built up over the decade and a half that I've been working.
And it's just a matter of being able to actually apply the right tool in the right situation in that case. Yeah.
Well, just got to learn a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would believe it. I would be remiss, by the way. First of all, hello to everybody in chat. You are listening to Arnie Jorgensen and John Watson from Stoic Studios, who are the developers of the Banner Saga, which I am playing through. And I'm playing through, although I'm also incredibly interested by the answers. So I've got one eye on the game and one ear listening to them, as it were. But I want to welcome everybody into the stream. Hope everyone's having a good time. And I also want to point out Glog, who I saw pop in here before, Glog78, who is a regular viewer, a very generous viewer, actually gifted me this game and put this on my radar screen. So Glog, I know you have some things you're going to want to ask them too. I'll ask chat for some questions to throw at these gentlemen in a bit, but yeah, Glog is a really good guy, and he was the one who put me onto this in the first place, because I had heard about it vaguely, and then I just had, there's so many games and things out there, and I'm busy with a million other things. I hadn't realized it, and then when I started looking at the details about it, I thought, this is, and I have not been disappointed so far. So let me ask a little bit then about.
Hey, Arvan?
Yeah, sure.
Just really quick to go into some of the stuff that we're playing here as I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Little known fact for the people that are watching the game: this character Bercy that you're talking to right here is actually, he got his start in a fiction, a fictional story, well, a story about the Banner Saga that Alex wrote just previous to the game coming out. So if anybody wants to look up the story called "What Is Told," you'll find Bercy in it, and that's the guy right there.
Oh, very neat. What is told?
So he's got a huge backstory.
Very, very cool. And actually, that's a good segue into the question I was going to ask you, which is, I am pleasantly surprised at the quality of the writing, and by that I mean, I have as an author myself, I often have people, and I tend to focus on story and narrative-based games, and what I often get from people is, this is an amazing story, and when I fire it up, I'm like, it's an okay story, which is basically just to say that game stories have not always traditionally in the past measured up to other kinds of stories for a variety of reasons, and I'm very, very impressed with this, and I wonder, have you guys noticed, has there been an increased focus on story in gaming as of late, and did you guys pick up on that? I'm curious about where, first of all, I want to know who did the writing for you guys, but also, or principally did it, but I also want to know where you think, sort of for you folks, story kind of played into the way that gaming is going, and did you guys ride that wave a bit, I guess?
No, it wasn't anything like that. The writing was done by Alex Thomas, who we call the creative director, just for lack of a better word, because we all just kind of put different stuff on our business cards. And so Alex was the writer. He was also implemented all the writing into the design. So he did all that. No, it kind of came back because that's one of Alex's strong suits. When we were working at BioWare together, he showed me. I used to read. I come from comics, so I've read a lot of stories from people, comics pitches. I've read comic books, whatever.
Yep.
And Alex showed me a couple stories that he wrote that were then actually moved on to Pixar as possible pickups for Pixar. And I said, "Oh my gosh, this guy's one of the coolest writers I've ever read." Like when he would write something funny, I knew it was good because I would openly laugh, which I almost never do when I'm reading something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not only that, I really loved his characterization and his dialogue. So after I read some of his stuff, we kind of started working together a little bit, and we did a small kids book called Dino Boy, which is available right now on the Apple Store, but it's years old now. So after Dino Boy, we said, well, I guess there's no money in children's books. It did very well for a children's book, but we're not going to make a living doing that.
Right.
And he said, well, how about we make this game? And I said, great, you can write the story. And it was just kind of, it evolved like that. He liked to write, and so it wasn't anything that we were looking at and, that this was some sort of thing going on in games. It just happened organically like everything else in the game.
I got you.
Yeah.
You go ahead, John.
Yeah, of course, the story that Alex wrote is really good. I mean, I like all the subtleties and interactions between the characters. There are some other games out there that I've played over the past couple of years that really struck me. The most recent being Kentucky Route Zero, which I was really blown away by the way the storytelling. It has a kind of visual storytelling as well as dialogue, and like Walking Dead. I think there's the Walking Dead game. I don't know if you've.
Yeah. Of course, I've done actually. I've seen it played, but also The Wolf Among Us, also by Telltale.
I have somebody gifted me that, and I'm about to play it in the next few days. I really love interactive fiction, which I would consider those games to be to a certain degree.
Yep.
I'm kind of fascinated with the idea of games that are powerful and accessible to everybody, like my parents or somebody else's parents.
Yep.
And um, you know, games have a mix. You have Walking Dead, which has quick time events, which are generate tension, and you can only really do those if you're a gamer. And of course, our game, it has a tactical combat element to it that requires you to have some gaming skills. But I've been fascinated with the idea of just straight up interactive fiction, almost like a movie.
Yeah.
Interactive movie that everyone can enjoy.
Alex, John was a big proponent of making sure that easy mode was really easy. We wanted people to be able to get in that weren't hardcore turn-based strategists and play through the story and enjoy the game.
Yeah,
so that's really what easy mode was for.
And in the games, in the Banner Saga, when you come across wars, you can just choose to oversee them and let the chips fall where they may based on your caravan. So if someone doesn't want to play the combat, they can skip through most of it. I mean, there are I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe more, combats in the game that are they're just part of the story. Like you have to play them because part of the story is told through that combat, either the death of a character or the discovery of something, or
Yeah, and it's and also, and like, since you were talking about Telltale, as you just mentioned as Arnie just mentioned in chat, the next thing for you guys is Chapter 2. So I want to ask, first of all, how many
Which is really good news for us, because we've constantly been telling people we'd love to do Chapter 2 if Chapter 1 does well enough. So now it's proven to do well enough.
Yeah, so I would say.
So we feel comfortable by saying, yeah, we will do Chapter 2 now.
Do you have in your mind an overall narrative arc of how many chapters you could move on with this? Because I assume you guys also have other projects in mind for later on. So how long do you want to go with the Banner Saga, like in general terms, if you have a sense of that?
How long? Right now we have planned for the Banner Saga 3 chapters of this story arc.
Okay.
We've had that from the beginning. We were originally planning on putting it out as one big game until we realized how long it would take. So then very early on, in fact, before our Kickstarter pitch, we said, okay, we're going to break it up into 3 different chapters. So we have 3 different chapters for this story arc, all plotted out. But of course, once you get down into the details, a lot of it changes along the way.
Right.
And then after that, we'd really like to start focusing a lot more on Factions, which is our multiplayer free-to-play game.
Okay.
John and I are really into Factions. We're kind of chomping at the bit that we don't, to get back to it, but we don't have time because we're really invested in the Banner Saga as well. So we'd like to do, we have that on our plate, and then also, just other ideas in the Banner Saga realm after that.
That's and do you have a general, I know it's dangerous to talk about dates and times and things like that. Is there any general sense of when you'd like to get the next, part of this out?
Yeah, absolutely. We know exactly when we want to get it out.
As soon as we can.
I was just going to say, right. Yeah.
We'll just leave it there.
I was going to say, yes.
There you go. You can tell we've learned some lessons.
Yes, for sure.
That's one of the lessons actually you don't learn until you start your own company, and then you actually, I think overall, there's a lot of teams that talk to the community, but I think we've stayed active with the community the whole way through.
Yes.
So there's kind of no buffer between us and the people that play our game, and we like it that way. It's mostly good, but there's a couple negatives to it. And one of them is, setting expectations. In a simple chat, I could say something that we're really planning on doing, not realizing 3 months later, oh no, there's a reason that makes this impossible to do. Mm-hmm. So I learned to shut my mouth a little bit sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I see. So that's sort of learned wisdom, as it were.
And it's not because we want to be sneaky. It's because you never know what you really can pull through on and what you can't. So as it gets closer to when we're going to be launching Chapter 2, we'll definitely be talking about it, because we'll know, okay, we can launch at this date.
When something's taking longer than you would like, but you didn't say exactly when it's going to come out, people can accept that a lot better. Like, oh, I wish this game would come out. I'm really looking forward to it. But when you say it's going to be out on day XYZ and it's not, then that's a specific grievance. That's like, right. You told me, you lied to me. Like, I didn't lie. I mean, what do you? I'm not going to put out something that's just broken just to make that date.
Which actually leads me to a question: I wonder if how to thread the needle from your guys' perspective between, what qualifies as constructive criticism, what qualifies as stuff that feedback from fans that you really do think, yeah, we got to integrate this, and what seems to be sort of, the whining that some, of course, no one in this chat, but occasionally gamers can be known to whine unreasonably. And I'm wondering, is there sort of a critical mass where if you get a certain bit of feedback enough times, you think, okay, we've got to do something about this, or is it not that way because, no, you have a vision of the way that you want things to go? I'm just wondering how you process it, I guess.
It really depends on what we're talking about. In factions, we took a heck of a lot of feedback. I mean, the whole point of us putting out factions to the player and having early access to it was getting as much feedback as we possibly could to make the game design for combat as robust as we could. Mm-hmm. So we took all the feedback we could on that front. There's other fronts, like we've had feedback on the story and about where the story should go and things like that. And, we take a lot of that with a grain of salt because we have a very strong vision of where we want the game to go. But certain things that people offer really do make the game better, and we read most all of it that we possibly can. And if we agree and we're like, wow, that would be good, we do it. There's no question about it.
Totally. I mean, a good example. Well, it's a kind of a good example. Like when we released the game, we had to release it without subtitles because we just, that's the time frame we had. And we always wanted to put subtitles in, but that was something we just didn't include because we were out of time. And when we released the game, we listened, the things that people mentioned the most. And one of them was subtitles. It's like, okay, well, we'll put that back to the top of our list. If no one had mentioned it, if no one had then, subsequently asked for it, we might have left it down a few notches, but it was up on the list. People were asking for profiles, like having multiple profiles in the game. So there's only one save slot now. Basically, you have multiple save games, but there's one slot full of them. So that's the next thing we did. That's already implemented multiple save slots, which will be out in the next batch. So
okay, which was and that was I had read, actually, I think it was on Steam. I was reading that there was some early controversy about that from people who said, well, but there ought to be one in there. So that there was no specific thing you had said in your mind. We want this to be more hardcore, so we're going to set it up this way, but there's only one save slot. It was more a matter of time and implementation.
No, that really was just a matter of just, it was just not a priority when we were developing it. And then when we released it, like, okay, people actually want this feature because
it makes a lot of sense. Your little brother wants to play.
Yeah. And
right.
Sometimes you don't know. Like sometimes it's hard to know how much a feature is really wanted. Like we could put things in speculatively that people may or may not use, but it's really gratifying to have a case where people are saying, yes, I would use this feature, and like, okay, I can make that for you. I can make that happen. I like to be able to do that. So we definitely. Now sometimes people have. I can't think of a specific off the top of my head. Arnie might be able to, but there are some things that people complain about. The game maybe. Well, the game is too dark or it's too ominous, and it's like, well, that's on purpose. That's actually the way the game.
Yeah, that's part of your guys' vision, obviously.
That's actually, it's another reason why we chose this style too, because we wanted it to be a juxtaposition of the story. I mean, you're reading the story, and I'm showing my age here, but I would think of it kind of like a Smiths song. It's really uppity, and you're tapping your foot, and then you listen to it and you go, oh my gosh, what the heck are they singing about? It's pretty sad.
Yeah, for sure.
But, the game is kind of like that. We didn't want a gritty, a grim, dark type look to it. One of the things I would bring up is talking about save games. A perfect picture of this, though, would be when people said, you know what, I want more save game slots. We get it. Okay, you played through. What if you want to play through again and try different options? Well, do you destroy your first game? That's, so we thought it was a really good idea to offer more save game slots. But another thing that we are, purposefully avoiding is when people say, I want to be able to save the game wherever the heck I want. And we're saying, no, this is part of the design of the Banner Saga, that we will save the game on the fly, but you can't just go back before every conversation and repick a different outcome. We want the Banner Saga to be played kind of like a novel, where you're reading through a novel, and if you take if you read Stark was killed, in the novel. Let's say you can't just go back and change, what happened. You just keep reading.
Right.
And we've always said that we want people to approach their playthrough of the Banner Saga like a novel. Okay, you lost a character, keep playing, because that can change the game and make it really cool. The Banner Saga is not about winning a game. It's about enjoying the journey, really.
Which I imagine is probably more difficult for you guys to have to account for, because sometimes you'll hear people say, play it, live with the story as it is, but the problem is that if X, Y, and Z characters die, or if a particular story branch goes down, essentially the players have ruined themselves for the rest of the game. So they get to the end of it and they feel cheated because they think, well, I was screwed because I made this terrible decision earlier on. Whereas it sounds like what you guys set up was that if you lose these other things, there will be consequences, or if this person dies, but it will, you're still capable of completing your own version of the story, which won't be any less valuable than someone else who did something different, right?
That's right, and you can still go back. I mean, we do have save points throughout the entire game, and you can go back to a certain part, but we just don't want to make it so easy that Alex always tells this story. He was one of the big proponents of this, that when he was playing through Dragon Age, he started save scumming, which is before every conversation he would save. Then he would go through the conversation, reload, pick a different option, reload, pick a different, and he hated himself, but he couldn't stop himself because that was the way to play the game.
The same thing has happened to me.
And so we wanted to just put a nail in it and say, you're not doing it.
You could say having those freeform saves creates a moral hazard where you just can't help yourself and you end up ruining the game for yourself. But
right.
Because it's there.
Exactly. So we were saying, you know what, once you get used to it, it'll be better, and just move on. There are ways that you can lose the game outright. Like, period, the game is over, we give you an end game screen, you've lost. Okay, go back to one of your save points, whichever one you want, and do it that way. That's fine.
Frankly, I designed the save system very much after Kentucky Route Zero. Was basically, they have 2 acts, but we have 7 chapters, and then there's intermediate saves along the way at important places. But basically, you can go back to any of these key locations, but I think there's about 20 total. So you can go back and start from those key locations, but not just anywhere. Although the game saves resume save for you as often as it can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it has worked out, though, and that you've been able to balance it well, because then people feel that it's an experience, and you can, it's the kind of thing you can chat about with friends later on. I played it this way, this particular thing happened. Yeah. Oh, really? Because I did this and this thing happened. Oh, wow. So it's it encourages a later full replay, not save scumming, but like, let me go back and redo in a different fashion.
Yeah, if one of the characters dies, it hurts, and you might well feel it for a while until you get somebody to take his place. Like if you lose Gil and you've been using him effectively up to that point, man, it hurts.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, which is a little, and there's a little bit of XCOM. There's a little bit of XCOM in that, seems to me. With that feel of you lose one of your fighters, and that guy is someone you invested a lot of attention to, but in a way, that's what makes the whole thing have the bite, that you better be careful because you don't want to lose these people because it's for real, right, as it were, within the game.
And when you do, just like I said before, it's kind of like a song from Of Ice and Fire with Stark. It's sad, but it becomes part of your story. So I think that's the way we want people to take it.
Yeah.
By the way, a side note, because I'm hugely into the combat of this whole thing.
Yes. And I have not come into war, so you guys are going to have to help me through this, because I have not encountered the big battle of this type yet. So
I would love to. So I've always been into turn-based strategies, and I've designed them since high school. In my own room for hours on end, like a complete nerd. And I will tell anyone out there that it's funny because Gil, or Egil, as everyone calls him, he's got one of the coolest special abilities in the whole game, but everyone thinks he's kind of weak. Anyway, for anybody listening right now, use Gil, and you will win.
And Gil is the man.
Gil is the young boy.
If you use Gil, are you talking about the final battle or just in general?
I'm just talking about in general. Egil's ability is. I totally rely on it. When Egil's not there, I feel naked.
Yeah, Egil's ability is great, and Oddleif's ability, if you can rank her up, is great all across everywhere, and especially in the final battle.
It reminded me a little bit playing this yesterday, and I am going to want to move on in this war in a minute so I can get you guys to help me, because this is terrifying. Now this is a whole new wrinkle, but it was reminding me a lot of one of my favorite games ever, Final Fantasy Tactics, which relies, obviously, it's turn-based, of course, but there are also characteristics of turn order, which becomes critical when people move at what times. And the idea that you guys had, which I think is interesting, is that you always alternate until the pillaging thing happens at the end. They always alternate regardless of how many people you are, regardless of how many, one outnumbers the other, but you're always aware. You can actually see when a unit is going to go, so that's very transparent. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how you came up with that. I think it works out really well.
If you pay attention to that, in combat and in factions, it's extremely to your to your advantage, definitely, to pay attention to who's attacking next. If somebody's not attacking for 6 more rounds, maybe you should just ignore them and go for the guy that's attacking next and neutralize him.
So, and actually, you brought up Final Fantasy Tactics, which was that was a big game for both Alex and I. And when we originally came up with the UI design for combat, I pretty much swiped Final Fantasy Tactics and we tried it. And we went out to one of the game shows and we found out it failed miserably for our game. And we came back and completely redesigned the UI for combat into what you see today. But yeah, it was a big thing in our game. The other thing that was early on in development when we were playtesting the whole combat and factions was the pillage mode, which is when one unit or when one team or the other is down to one unit, it goes, it stops going every other, your enemy, then you, your enemy, then you. And it just goes your enemy and then all of your guys the enemy, and that was a really big debate in the community when we first tried that out. And that was one of the times actually that a lot of people were saying, "This is terrible, I hate it. Let's go back to the old way." And we actually, it's one of the times we stuck to our guns, saying this is better for the game, for the future. So we stuck to our guns on that.
If we did not have the community that arose around factions. There's this great community of people who really enjoy playing competitive PvP turn-based strategy. They're on our boards at Stoic, and they're extremely involved. Every change we make, every change we made would receive feedback. Every change we proposed would be debated. They break down the systems and work out the details. If we didn't have them as a resource and helping us along the way, I can't imagine what the combat would be like. The combat would be good, but not nearly as good as it is, I think.
So you have you just have a huge number of gifted, committed playtesters, as it were, to draw from, really.
Well, yeah, playtesters and they're like developers in a way. They're invested. They're really. We started factions and we were all really good at it. We were playing, and as with any game, in a matter of weeks, the players have surpassed us, and in a matter of months, they're so far beyond us that there's no way to ever catch up.
I played my first 40 something games without losing or even coming close. And then it was like to the point I could rarely win. These guys got really good. And the coolest thing was they would come up with builds we never even thought of. And one of the greatest times we had was everybody saying, "Oh, the provoker is worthless. The shield bangers are really weak comparatively to the warriors." And in walks a guy. John, do you remember his name, from Turkey? Who's a national chess master in Turkey?
Blood something. There will be blood.
There will be blood. Who was a national chess master in Turkey?
That's a movie though. I think he had a different name, but it had something to do with blood.
And he comes in and he took 2 provokers, who are shield bangers, and he just started dominating the entire game. So it changed everybody's, style to prevent these provokers. So it was a really cool thing to us to see that the different ways that you match up your teams and build them can really have a big change on combat.
Yeah.
So we found out the game was far more balanced than we thought we could actually get.
That was a wonderful.
Just like John said, it was based on feedback.
Because this particular guy was, he's a chess master from Turkey, and he had spent years of his life mastering chess, and he understood it very well. And so he kind of had a different perspective. He came into the game, he looked at our game. I think we had, probably at the time, and now anyway, we have 12 classes. So he looked at them all, looked at their abilities, looked at their stats, like, okay, I see this in a very analytical way, how this unit can be used to my advantage, and it really surprised everybody.
Yeah, and I think it would be really interesting to be able to draw upon those ideas that you get from the community and somehow mold them together with yours. Actually, one thing I was going to ask as I was looking at this was, as you guys are talking about all the details of, I mean, I feel like a scrub because, I mean, I've only played about 4.5, 5 hours of the game so far, and I've been, combat has worked reasonably well for me, and it's been a lot of fun. I have been as interested in the story and kind of progressing the story, and I guess this goes back to your point, John, that you wanted to make a game accessible on different levels, in different styles also, so that combat doesn't disappear, and I wouldn't want it to. I enjoy the combat, but for me, since I'm really interested in going through and finding out more about the story, that's sort of built in to the way you guys set this up.
Yeah. If we had, the combat is integral to the story, and it's integral to the game itself. I mean, to make it accessible to someone who's not interested in the combat, you could conceivably do something where it sort of automatically resolves it, where your characters are controlled by the AI, just like the dredge are or the enemy are. But
but the emphasis, I guess my point is, the emphasis is variable. I mean, you can have someone who puts less emphasis on it and still enjoy the game,
absolutely.
or the opposite.
Absolutely, and that's where we hope that people can enjoy it in those different levels. Like Arnie was saying about the easy mode. Like, if you play on easy mode, it should be a walk. You should be basically the difficult parts of the game should be entirely you deciding how to deal with situations in dialogue. The combats are not the difficult part anymore. If you play in normal mode, it should be fairly balanced. If you play on hard mode, then hard mode is for people who really like the combat. I really want a challenge. I really want to think about every move, and I want to think about every promotion and allocation of renown.
That's very cool. And if I'm reading chat right, so I guess the guys who did the sound design for you, we have one of those in chat too. Hi, Michael.
Michael just joined us. Yeah,
see that.
That's very,
these
very
guys
cool.
are top notch. They might not get enough attention because we got Austin's soundtrack playing over the whole thing, but the entire game was sound designed by Capel.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. We haven't. Michael probably thinks we've kind of dropped off the face of the earth of the past few weeks, because there's like this frenzy of getting the game done, and then it's like, okay, where'd Stoic go?
It's funny. It was a frenzy of getting the game done, and then it was like customer service and a new build for the new patch build, and so we've really had our hands full.
Yeah, for sure. I think you guys can be forgiven for not being immediately responsive after doing this much stuff.
Yeah, I can't praise Capel enough for. The sound is so good, and as a programmer, I did all the implementation on the engine side of the sound, and when the new drops of sound would come from Capel, I'd be hooking it up, and every time new stuff came in, even if it was one new sound, it was like opening gifts on Christmas Day. Let's see what we got.
This is awesome. Oh, I can imagine.
We got a sound for Bella screaming. We got a sound for the dredge taking armor damage. We have a sound for when you click on the map button.
Yeah.
Oh, let me check this out.
Yeah, and also let me give you guys one compliment too before I ask you whether I should be charging into combat, which is what chat is telling me to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'll explain it in a second. But go on.
Okay, but I want to just ask one thing about the because the UI is very slick. As I was in the process of playing it, that was another thing that struck me. One was, of course, the art style, the story. I do love the music, but that's not so surprising. And actually, there's an odd connection to this. I run a podcast called Speculate with a fellow speculative fiction author, and we were interviewing Mike Selinker, who you guys may or may not know. He's a game designer that designs for board and card games. So he did the Pathfinder adventure card game. That's him. And so he had come up with this book called The Maze of Games. He raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter, and this guy approached him wanting to do a soundtrack for it, and it was actually the guy who did the soundtrack for Journey. And so Mike tells me this and says, yeah, and then he's also doing the soundtrack for Banner Saga. And I said, oddly enough, I will be interviewing those gentlemen next week. So small world.
Yeah.
But let me.
Austin's all over the place. By the way, those are my kids. If you guys.
Yeah, Austin is one of the most hardworking people that I've ever met. Like, he is just driven.
It's great. It's great stuff. It is really good music too. I mean, it really does match everything.
The music is so amazing. I mean, I've been listening to it. I mean, I've listened to it plenty, obviously, in the game, and the original soundtrack, but I like it so much that although I've worked on this game for 2 years and we just worked our asses off, finished the game, I've been listening to the soundtrack in my car, even yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good.
All right, well, let me go ahead, Arnie.
Right. I was going to say, even do you have a second to go into what you're looking at right now?
Yes, I do. I that's what I was just about to ask you. Yeah, please let me know what I'm doing here.
So the war scenario is designed to basically say, as you're playing through the game, if you're doing really well and you've got a lot of forces and got a lot of fighters in Varl, you're going to have an advantage over the dredge that you're facing. So we give you their numbers, and then we tell you your numbers, and then we say, do you have an advantage or not? So this one right here says, even from here, you can see nervous glances among the enemy ranks. This looks like a good chance to press your advantage. By attacking with charge, what you're going to be doing is making the battle more difficult for yourself, but you'll save more lives of your caravan.
Okay.
Formations is a balanced approach, meaning it's not going to be so hard, and there's going to be some casualties in your caravan. But if you're not doing so well in the game, you have a lot of fighters banged up or injured. That might be for you.
Let me interject. I'm looking at the code right now, and so basically, charge gives you more danger in battle, like between 1 and 3 more grunts, or maybe 1 more high-level guy.
Okay. Reduces
the threat against your caravan by 10 to 20%.
Okay.
And increases the renown gain by between 1 and 3. So basically, you're taking on up to 3 more enemies in danger, 3 more enemies in battle, personally with your team of 6.
Okay.
To reduce the casualties to your caravan by between 10 and 20%. So you're calling the enemy's attention to yourself, to your 6 heroes, and you're driving into them and saving lives in your caravan.
So this is that balancing act that you choose. Yes, I know, Satobo. I'm cheating with insider knowledge. That's the benefit. That's living the dream, man. That's living the dream. That's why it works out.
So if your characters, if your heroes are all beat up and they're just coming off another fight, and you got 4 of them injured, and you're worried about even winning, you might want to try number 3, which is hold them off.
Okay.
And that's basically your caravan is going to be losing a lot, but your heroes could win the battle because we're making the actual combat easier for you. 4 retreat is if your heroes are all injured, they're all beat up, you see a lot more dredge than your caravan has. Just get out of there. You're going to take heavy losses, but it's better than just outright losing the combat.
Okay, and then oversee, as I saw in chat, is basically just the computer doing it for you, essentially?
It's the computer doing it for you, and what's going to happen, it's basically for the people that don't know tactics, have no interest in turn-based strategy, and they're going to click oversee.
I see. All right. Well, then, so it sounds to me like given the circumstance, I ought to charge here. Although I'm a little nervous now because I'm going to be playing in front of the designers who are going to be like, "Really? You did that move?" But I'll do the best I can.
We might be able to help you.
Okay. All right. So I will charge.
I know how the AI work.
So that's true. Actually, it's a good point. What my mod in there, Satobo, said is exactly right. Like anytime the dredge would attack me, I'll be like, look, I have the guy who made you, so you fail. That's the way it works.
The AI are fairly complex. I know what things they prefer and what. So the AI is sort of like has this set of motivations in a way. They evaluate various outcomes, and they're all weighted. Each outcome is weighted differently. So they like to stand near their friends and not stand near their enemies. They like to do a strength damage if they can. They don't like to miss. But actually predicting what they're going to do in a given turn is impossible for me.
I got you. All right. Well, I'll draw upon you as much as I can.
idea what they're going to do.
This screen right here is basically asking, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
I know which is making me nervous, but it feels like I ought to be rushing into battle because
I would point out though that this screen gives you kind of a description of what your choice means. So as you go through the 5 choices, you can actually go in here and look at the description of each of the choices.
Right.
And get an idea. It doesn't tell you the numbers, but it gives you an idea of what's going to happen. And then you can hit rethink your options and go back and try another choice. But choose charge. Charge is the most fun.
I got you. All right. Okay. Let's do it then. Gather allies. Tell them to get ready to lead the attack. All right. Yeah, and Arnie, thank you, by the way. I see that I've been hearing you and watching you furiously type answers to people, so I appreciate that very much. I was going to run them things through, but my folks are really fascinated in this, so...
I'm happy to. Sorry to hear click, clack, click, clack.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that all adds to the effect.
I've answered a few questions. I find it's difficult for me to carry on a conversation in text and and in verbally.
Yes, I know it well. Believe me, I deal with it quite a bit over here.
I'm used to it because I played a lot of Worlds of Warcraft and other MMOs, I guess.
Yeah, yes,
As
absolutely.
did you, John. So you should be good at it.
I never used a headset in MMOs.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm old school.
Yeah, so just let me
Real,
just jump in for a second quickly as we.
So let's see here. Let me break down your team just real quick.
Sure.
So Mogre, Mogre is probably my favorite character in the game. I always made him rank 5 before anybody else. I would save kills just so Mogre could get a kill. And of course, I ranked up his armor break first because his armor break tied with his ability is just nasty. Hakon is a straight up damage dealer. He's a badass. Eric is a really good support character who can hand off renown and also do really good armor break damage. Luden, save Luden for going after the slingers. Spearmen are killers against the slingers. Gunnulf, hang him out in the back a bit and use him as cleanup. And then Ursa, use her as often as you can for her special ability, I think. Also, Ursa, little known fact, has the highest armor break of any archer in the game.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I was feeling all cocky about this group, and then I looked and saw there's 3 more down there. So this is gonna be really interesting. All right, so
if you're if you need armor break for that final battle, maybe Ursa is the key to that.
So actually, look all around. I'm used to seeing the entire screen. John and I have huge IMAX,
Oh.
so you might have more enemies on the bottom. I've never seen it this small.
is it real? I mean, because to me, I have this. I mean, I am playing in a windowed mode, but I have it stretched out. And I don't know.
I usually see the entire battlefield, but this is interesting. This is good to me.
Oh.
Good for me to see.
Yeah, no, I didn't know. This is what I had here. So
Yeah,
let's see.
The battle does not scale. It's a cropped window on the battle based on your resolution. The landscapes scale based on your resolution, but these battles are cropped windows.
That's interesting. So maybe I could adjust it. Yeah, no pressure. I know, Satolbo. I know, man. Let's see. Satolbo, by the way, who's my moderator, is also himself a game designer. He's doing a computer game of Icarus, my Kickstarter graphic novel, in parallel development. So when he asks you some of these things, this is also inside game knowledge that he's, not stealing, but pleasantly borrowing from you guys for use in our stuff. So.
Let me talk to some of the chatters without typing. Usually, when I'm playing the game, I put my shield bangers. Oh, it's loading something. Did it just drop?
I think he's changing resolution.
Yeah. No, it's not actually.
okay.
What that is when this reaches the top 300 streams on Twitch, I am given what's called a transcoder, which allows people to adjust the quality of the video on their end. So what that means is they'll be able to watch it at low, medium, high. That it helps because other people can come in if they have worse internet connection. So that's what that is. We should be back up now. So.
All right.
Okay, so normally when I'm setting up my team, I put my shield bangers or high armor people first.
Okay.
I then put usually my raiders second, and then my archers last is the way I do it. And the archers, of course, have puncture ability, which means the more armor damage the more armor you take off your enemies, the more damage the archers are going to do, as long as they don't move. So that's what I usually do.
I see. Okay. Oh man.
I always put Gunnulf last in rotation, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, you see that in factions as well. The Warhawks always come out last, and they mop up the wounded. You gotta hit that armor first, and the Warhawk comes out and just rips them apart.
Yeah, I may have put Ursa in the wrong spot. I have never played with her before.
To respond to chat, Gray mentioned that he never sees any items when he gives chase with charge, and I'm looking at the code right now, and you may be right. There may be a bug there. Sorry about that. You might not be getting items for charging. You should be getting items at a small percentage chance. So thank you.
See, and you guys thought you were done, and now
that's a good catch because I have to look at it some more to make sure that's correct. But from my initial investigation, it appears that you are correct.
Wow, good catch, Gray. Well done. All right, so let's see. So my thought process here, and you guys can tell me whether this is idiotic. I have to say also, I have not played factions, so I don't, my knowledge of this is pulling from other turn-based strategy that I've played, like XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics and things of that sort. But I'm still pretty noobish at this. So I'm assuming that if I'm placing my guys, my thought, at least at the beginning of the battle, is to try to deal with these guys down at the bottom here. who. Yeah, these dredge grunts. So I'm assuming that I'm trying to deal with those guys later and dealing with the big ones. I just know the guys with the shields are nasty, and I have to deal with them early on. So
the guys with a high strength. So
yeah, John's right.
The 10s aren't so bad. Go up to the top of the screen.
Yep.
Go up to the top of the battle.
Yeah, you'll see that there's that delay, but
find the guy with the biggest strength.
Right, that's the guy with the shield there, I think, that I'm looking at.
Well, no, he's got an 11 strength. He's not that nasty. The guys you got to watch out for are the Dredge Scourge, who are the dudes without the shields. They have like 16 to 21 strength.
Oh, dear God.
The dudes with the shields are going to take a long time to go down, but they're not going to hit you for tons of damage right up front.
Nobody in this battle has a huge strength, so that no one appears to be a massive threat by themselves. You just have a lot of medium threats.
A lot of people to deal with, yeah. All right, well, so let's see. I'm a little worried about Eirik being sort of exposed down there by himself, but I mean, not Eirik, Luden. I mean,
you don't have to. You don't have to deploy them in the way that it suggests. Before you hit ready, where's the Arnie? Where are the blue?
I'm sorry, where are the blue what?
The blue boxes for deployment.
Oh no. He's already deployed.
I already deployed, but I thought I could redeploy them, and maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, it says ready.
No, he hasn't deployed.
I see ready at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Hit ready. Let's see what happens.
There you go. So it looks like I did deploy. I did change around their positions a little bit, but then the boxes weren't there again, so I just hit deploy.
That's really weird.
So there you go. You guys should be able to see now with the delay what happened when I hit ready.
Okay, I see. Definitely stick Moger out in the upper left, taking care of the get as many people attacking Moger as you can.
Yeah, you see Moger has 15 armor, so no one can do damage to him right now. The highest strength among your enemies is 11, and everybody else is 10. So even for the 11 guy to do damage, they're going to have to knock off 4 points of armor first. So he's a good blocker at this point.
So it seems reasonable to have him wailing away at the biggest strength guy, right? I mean, like
yeah, I would hit the big guy's armor right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Move him over, get him in front of the big guy, and use Moger's special ability. That's what you want to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, which is that bring the pain thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Because everybody that hits him for that whole round is going to be taking 2 armor damage. I mean, by the end of a fight, Moger can deal like 50 armor damage. It's ridiculous. Move him to the left, yeah.
Yeah, move him northwest into the farthest blue square. One more.
Oh, I didn't do that. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It would just attract more of the enemies if you were a little closer to them.
And actually, let me ask you too. I assume flanking doesn't do any more damage to people, or does it? Does flanking have an impact? Okay.
It does not, but it has been. It's a great. That would be a great ability for a new class in Chapter 2.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to use flanking as an ability for a specific class, not as a tactic for the entire game, because we already have so much use of positioning in our game that we don't want people. What happens with flanking oftentimes is you find people doing a dance of I run up here, I attack, then they run up here, they attack, then I run up, and it becomes like everybody's switching places every other round. Especially you see that in multiplayer. That we said, you know what, this would be awesome as an ability, but we're not going to make it a staple in the entire game.
Right, understood.
It looks silly after a while.
Understood. Let's see. All right, so
I like the flank. I don't know if you play Dungeons and Dragons, but I believe
favorite game.
In the switch to 3rd edition, they had the thief's backstab be flanking based.
Yep.
And I like that idea for a character in our game.
Yeah, in 4E the flanking becomes huge. I think 4E maybe went a little bit too far down that line, but flanking becomes an even bigger deal in 4E.
I've
all right.
played it before.
Yeah, it's next is better, but in my opinion.
We played some Next at PAX last year. That was great.
Yeah, next is better.
It did seem like it was a bit streamlined, which is good because Dungeons and Dragons games can sort of devolve into this really tedious process, especially because there's so many rules, and if everybody at the table doesn't know the rules of their character by heart, a simple battle can just end up being 4 or 5 hours long when it doesn't need to be.
Well, that's exactly right.
Arvan, You just make the moves as you will, and explain to us a bit if you want to why you're making them. I don't want to.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm so interested in the conversation. It's as much of that. Well, sure. So I apologize in advance because I'm sure I'm making horrible tactical errors all over the place. But so what I did was, my thought here is that I'm trying to, if I understand this correctly, I want to make it so that it's more difficult for these other guys to get to people like the Warhawk, and I'd like them to cluster around Haken so that I can move Gunnulf up and hopefully do his amazing Tempest thing. He may not be able to get there this turn, but
I think that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
You want them to hover around Mogr. Hakon will take some serious damage rather quickly.
Yeah.
And but his ability stays strong throughout the entire combat. But still, Mogr is the one you want to suck up the damage from. But you're right. You do want to, use Gunnulf to clean up.
What Arnie mentioned is important because some abilities work best when your unit is fully healthy.
Okay.
Like Gunnulf's ability, for instance. He needs to be fully undamaged to get the full effect of his ability. But Hakon, with his heavy impact and sundering impact, it's equally effective no matter... If he has one strength, he'll do the same amount of AoE. And Thrasher is the same way. Thrasher is equally dangerous all the way down to his death. Some units aren't, though. Some units, once you whittle them down, they're not nearly as potent. You can just kind of leave them on the board.
Yeah, we found that there was a nice give and play as we were designing all these guys through factions with multiplayer. Every single point really matters to these guys that are playing. And some of the characters we designed that way, to be useful all the way through combat. You play them differently. You have to make different choices on whether you kill them or just maim them through combat. So each of the different units, you're kind of balancing: do I kill this one or do I just maim them? And how good are they through the long haul?
Maiming rather than killing is a valuable tactic, and that's one thing the AI in Saga does not do. And the AI in Saga prefers to kill their enemies. They don't think. Yeah,
but that's cool though. I mean, I think that's designed correctly.
That's a
fun.
Feature of them. That's how they behave. To respond to DW in chat, I totally agree. If the dungeon master in D&D is just running the show however he wants to and making up rules and being creative as he goes, that is absolutely the best way to do it.
I think that's why D&D Next is... I mean, I've played D&D for 25 years, and actually Ed Greenwood is contributing to my Kickstarter. He's one of the stretch goal authors, and Ed has said that he prefers a more loosey-goosey thing, and Ed would know, since Ed's one of the funniest people in the world.
One of the best role-playing games experiences I ever had. I was a kid, I don't know, like 12 or something, and my cousin had this game that he ran, and there were no rules. It was totally made up. The whole thing was made up. And you would just say what you wanted to do, and he would make up the story, and he would say what happened. And there were no dice, there were no numbers. It was like collaborative storytelling.
Yeah, well, it sounds a little bit like Amber, which had a diceless role-playing system that was similar to that. But yeah, I do think that Next has sort of hit the sweet spot for some of that, because I agree that the 4E has gotten into these... The combats just take too long. It shouldn't take 4 hours to run a combat. It just shouldn't. And so,
when I play D&D, which it's been a while because I just simply don't have time, but the balance between the story development and the combat could get all out of whack, because you spend 2 sessions resolving this epic combat and the story goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Love Shack 64 mentions attacks of opportunity. We don't have attacks of opportunity. When I said AoE, I meant area of effect, which is a MMO acronym.
Yeah, areas of effect.
But AoE, attacks of opportunity, there is actually a class in the game, the Hunter, which is embodied by Rook, and his special ability essentially provokes an attack of opportunity from all his allies. So it's called Mark Prey. You hit the enemy, and then all your allies whack the guy you marked on that turn.
Now,
it's extremely powerful.
Let me ask you a question about this. So I have Gunnulf here, and as I was afraid of, he's not going to be able to move far enough to get to anybody. There is no... I don't believe there's anything in the game of like a delay your action until later, like basically...
Yeah, you can wait.
Is there a reshuffle almost, like initiative order?
There's no reshuffle, but you can just wait. There is a class called the War Leader who can order someone to the next turn, which is extremely powerful.
Oh, wow.
but you don't have one of those in your party right now.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if because rest wouldn't really be necessary in this case.
Rest is not useful because you haven't depleted.
Yeah, I haven't done anything. Yeah, so I guess the only thing to do is just to move.
Just get him a little closer. Yeah, pull him up behind Hacken.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Let him hang out there.
Okay. All right, here come the other 3 guys that I didn't know were there before I was feeling confident. Okay, all right, now Ursa, this is someone I have not used before. Slag and Burn explodes in 5-tile area. Good lord. I assume it hurts everybody. So
it's a 5-tile area like a cross. So the center being the 1, and the 4 cardinal directions being the additional 4.
Okay. Now does that stack with the puncture? Because obviously this big guy, I've already done a lot of damage to his armor. So
Slag and Burn does not use puncture.
Okay. So then all right. So I don't really think then.
Her strength is only 6 though, so even with his depleted, what is his armor right now? I can't see it behind the horn.
Oh, it's sorry, it's
11. So yeah,
11.
you need to use your special on him, or else attack his armor.
Well, I was thinking about doing that. Yeah, because everyone else seems to be too scattered for this other thing to be useful. So I will now, and I'm able to attack with her just like with a regular archer. She's not gonna. If I'm just attacking normally, she'll shoot over the head of Eirik, right? Or do I have to move?
There's no line of sight.
Okay.
One thing also about a Slag and Burn is it basically lays down damaging tiles that last until her next turn. And one thing about in factions, that's a deterrent. It's an obstacle. The other player really has to make a decision. Do I want to walk over that and take that damage, which it goes right through my armor?
Yeah.
The AI ignores that. So the AI will just happily walk over obstacles like that. So you can use it to your advantage if you know who's going to move next on the enemy team and where they might move.
So now he, as was hoped for, they decided to gang up on Mogre, but boy, he took it on the chin that entire round, I guess. But it meant nobody else was.
Well,
so
they see that they can see that his armor is down, and they can actually hurt him. So that they're going for him because they have 10 strength and he has 8 armor.
Yeah.
So they're gonna just pile on that guy until they kill him, which they're gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Just keep using his ability. Don't run him.
I'm sorry,
That's
say
what
again.
I would use his ability again and just deal as much armor damage as you can with
Right.
him.
Well, I was thinking of doing that on this big guy, and I was also hoping that I could do that in the hopes they would all gather, the others would follow him, and then I can try to bring in. I can have Ursa the Witch drop down the fire on them. Would be the
I bet they will. I bet they'll follow him.
All right. Well, let's.
My guess is that they will follow him because he's so.
Did that wrong? Okay. All right, there
Um,
we go. All right. So bring the pain. All right. So did as much as I could. All right, now let's see. Meanwhile, this guy I should be able to eliminate.
Once you get Ivan, Ivan has 2 abilities, which is he's unique in the game, and he has 2. One of them is is Mend, which tends to get overlooked because he has this kind of spectacular chain lightning thing that he does. But if you get somebody like Mogre, just beating on people's armor and soaking up damage, and you have Ivan standing across the board mending his armor, you can. Those 2 really work well as a team.
Interesting. All right, so let's see.
So Sundering is not going to do much.
Yeah, I messed it up, I guess.
No, you did 8 damage, but there is no one adjacent to him. You need your enemy to have.
I got you. I got you. I was thinking more of it as sort of doing the extra, the armor damage, but I guess that wasn't necessary given that there was another guy there. So my fault. Let's see.
Does anybody? Arnie, should I give a hint to the origin of Trigby's necklace?
Yeah, nobody. It's funny. We put out these Easter eggs. There's quite a few of them in the game, and one of them is Trigby's item. And I'm interested that nobody's ever found the Easter egg of what it's designed after.
Does anybody?
But no, don't give a hint yet. I want to see if anybody has an idea.
Actually, no, I don't want to do that.
I'll give a vague hint. There's an internet phenomenon, almost a meme.
Oh gosh, John.
that can be viewed on YouTube.
Oh, forget it.
I'm troubled by where this is going. I got to be honest.
What are people gonna watch every video on YouTube?
Listen. You already have, by saying that, you've already got 10 people at least now frantically combing YouTube for every bit of information. So just be aware, you know what you started.
Yeah, I'd be really happy if somebody could pick up on it.
Let's see. All right.
Axeman 808. Yeah, the party size for the players max is 6. There is no max for the AI, but typically 20 would be the actual max. But you would rarely see 20 because that would be 20 grunts, 20 rank 1.
Didn't we have to cap it like the last day before launch or something because battle boards that wouldn't account for that?
On the day before launch, we found a board that could not accommodate 20 4-square enemies on it, and we were like, and we fixed that, and we made sure that we couldn't go beyond that because it would just lock up the game.
Now I cannot use see, I have plenty of horn, like willpower things in the horn, but I can't. Gunolf can't move any farther than he can move, huh? Like there's no.
Does he have an exertion of 0?
He has an exertion of 0, yeah.
Yeah, exertion, it gives you the ability to use your stars for movement.
That's one of the first things I would do with Gunolf is don't give it strength, give him exertion.
Well, yes. Well, I didn't have you guys here yesterday or 2 days ago.
It's his Achilles heel, and that's another one we did on purpose. Gunolf is massively strong, but you got to give him some exertion.
Yeah, because he needs to be able to take advantage of a positioning of enemies when it occurs.
Right.
And having those few extra steps can give you a lot more options.
Yep, and there goes Moger, not surprisingly. Is there a way to see... Well, I guess I can... Never mind, I can answer that question myself. All right, slag and burn explodes in 5-tile area. So... 1, 2, 3, 4.
X-Man 808, the game spawns a quantity of enemies that is based on the danger of your situation. It can be up to 20, and it's basically a sum of ranks. So you could have 20 rank 1 enemies, or 10 rank 2 enemies, or 6 rank 3s and 2 rank 1s. So it's a mixture, but in theory you could have 20 rank 1s.
Let me, before I have to ask you a question about how Ursa works here in just a second, but let me just jump in for a second. Welcome to everybody in the stream. If you're new here, welcome. You're listening to John Watson and Arnie Jorgensen from Stoic Studios, who are kind enough to give us some time and talk a little bit about this amazing, really legitimately amazing game, and to watch me fail badly at it in this combat. And if you are interested, they are both here, and they're also answering some questions here and there in chat on occasion. Yeah, definitely make sure you follow them. Thank you also to everybody who has retweeted this. If you are new here, I would definitely appreciate it if you follow the channel, because we plan more events of this kind, and we like to think we're a fun community that's interested in this sort of thing. Okay, so if I go down to, so this slag and burn, the farthest level, is that the center of the effect? So if I hit it there, then it's going to go 5 squares from that, if you follow what I'm asking?
If you click slag and burn, the tile you target will be affected, plus the 4 adjacent tiles. And by adjacent, we never mean diagonal. It's always a square, or a cross. Okay,
but 4 adjacent tiles, so just surrounding. So basically, just 1 row or 4 rows, 1 row surrounding them.
It'll do the tile to the southwest, southeast, northeast, and northwest.
All right. So then I need to be able to get. Let's see. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like the effective range is about 5 squares away, so that it can actually do it.
That's right.
So
the center will be where you drop it, yeah.
What I'm thinking about is...
The thing, you can see where she, like if you're saying how close to the enemies do I need to be?
Right.
If you click her, have you moved her yet? I've lost track.
I have not moved her yet. No, I was just about to do that.
So just click on her real quick and get your movement tiles back.
Yep.
So click move, and then hover. Now hover 1 back, 1 further away from them.
Because of the delay, I don't know where you are at the moment.
Okay.
So
you'll be able to see. Yeah.
I think I see what you're saying.
The pulsing red tile.
Yeah, and as you move it away, you'll see what she can affect and what she can't wherever she moves.
So if she
you move
moves
it one
there,
away,
she could
you'll-
affect them now. But would she be able to affect them with a regular attack or with a slag and burn? But there's no way to
It is a
tell.
regular attack, but the slag and burn has the same range, so
Okay. So then, all right. Then I am going to do that. So
that'd
we
be
move
great.
there.
Go one more, yeah. Go all the way, and you can whack all 3 of them with
All
the
right.
slag and burn.
Cool.
Now that will cost you 2 willpower to move two further squares, but I think in this case it's worth it.
She has 5 willpower. So.
And I have
Yeah.
I have some built up anyway in the horn. So all
I
right.
would do it as well.
All right. Here we go. Burn time. Very nice.
Now,
Cool.
you already did it, but she's also a lonely archer out with no defense.
I know.
Now. So,
Yes, I know. As I say. All right. Let's see.
So you use your special. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. So it worked. It's just, if she is
2
by herself.
damage each. I was thinking about a lot of specials, including slag and burn. It ignores armor entirely. It's direct damage to strength.
Let's see. Unfortunately, Haken does not have a lot in the way of. He has sundering impact. Well, actually, okay, so that would make sense for him to do that.
Yeah,
then.
move up close and hit that guy, and you'll hit the guy beside him too with sundering impact.
Okay. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay, leave my archer alone. No.
One thing, when we designed the combat user interface, the clicks, how it shows you where you can move, everything, that was actually designed at first basically as directly from Final Fantasy Tactics, including the blue tiles where you can move.
Very nice.
And the first iteration of the prototype was basically Final Fantasy Tactics. Let's just do the interface exactly the same, see how it goes. We had to change a few things because of the way our game works. And also, I don't think it's necessarily just the way the game works. We just streamlined it a bit. And there was a lot of debate. When you're attacking an enemy, are you choosing, the verb or the object first? Are you choosing what you're going to do or to whom you're going to do it? And we tried it both ways. We had one way that was sort of a very complex but powerful mode where you could do either. You could move, and you could have your move not yet committed, and then you could choose an ability based on your not yet committed move. And it was powerful, but it was also very confusing.
And I noticed, by the way, I noticed that the question which will not be named has been asked in chat. So thanks, Arnie. We'll just leave. I'll just say that that everyone is very, very strongly, definitively, and unquestionably on your side, and I'll just leave it at that. All right. Let's see. I'm going to move you here, and I'm going to pray that you think he's irritating. Okay. Please go away. Shoot. The pain. I feel it from here. Meanwhile, Gunnulf is taking forever. Alright. Let's see. I feel like I just have to get up there and do damage, even though there is a risk that he's going to take it, that he's going to take damage himself.
No, Impale is great because it puts a bleed on the enemy, and when he moves back in to attack, he'll take damage from his movement.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about that. All right, so Gunnulf here, still can't. I'm trying to line them all up for an incredible tempest,
well, you don't need to. Like, that guy's got 3 armor. Just go kill him, or
Yeah, right. That was what I was planning to do.
Yeah, you can see you're going to pound him for 13 damage.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you, Gunnulf is like you give him 2 exertion or something, and he could hit a lot more in a lot of fights.
Yep. No, I am now. He just got promoted, so that is going to be my first order of business.
Yep.
I think Ursa's actually going to survive this particular round, which is stunning. But I'm going to run her the heck away. And then attack back. Although, interestingly, no, I don't take any chances. So I'm going to run her back here. Now, is there a way to tell... I guess there isn't really a way to tell... There's no way to sort of move her away and sort of think about how far away to move and still have a way to effectively attack them. There's no way, I guess, to tell that.
You can see the pulsing red tiles on the people you will be able to attack.
Oh, I see. Oh, I got it.
Proposed
I didn't even know the other direction it did that. Wow, that's really cool.
Arnie, we don't in the tutorials and the descriptions we never ever point that out.
I had no idea. That's great.
Well, chapter 2. There you go.
Yeah.
We can make it better.
We should add that. That's a very useful tool, and people don't realize that it's there.
Okay, let's see. Now, if I use Slag and Burn, the problem is if I use... No, wait. That's not what I want to do. I thought that I could... I guess I can just attack him normally, because if I use Slag and Burn, I can't attack him right on there. Oh, I can. Never mind.
Yeah, totally. Attack that middle guy, and you'll hit both of the side guys, too.
All right, that'll do that.
Ursa's really cool. Ursa's story... I love Ursa's story where she's communicating with Hakan.
Yeah, I was enjoying that, actually.
Like, I'm a witch, you know?
Yeah, I was enjoying that.
Okay,
wow.
Crazy lady.
Gunolf can do 10. Now, the Tempest only hits guys that are not diagonal to each other. So if I... Or can I? Like, if I moved Gunolf, it's going to take you guys a few seconds to see it. But if I move Gunolf next to Hakan up there to his east, and then I did Tempest from there, would it hit both of those drudges?
Yes. If you made yourself adjacent to both of those drudges, you would hit both of those drudges.
Then I will do that. Oh, wait, that's Mogre. No!
Yes.
I thought it was...
next turn, but you could kill one of those guys with Mogre this turn.
Yeah, jeez, though.
You really want to use that Tempest.
I'm telling you, the Tempest, the chat will tell you, when that happened in the opening fight, I said, this guy...
Just go up there with Mogre and hit that guy's armor. And then let
Mogre's dead.
Let Gunolf take over from there.
That's true. I suppose I can have him down there. Let's see. Haken's actually in pretty good shape. I could just also...
Sorry. Yeah, Hakan. Yeah, I was saying Mogre when I should have been saying Hakan.
Let's see. Kill this guy or that guy? I'm going to kill this guy.
I'm 3/4 of the way through my Omagong 3 Philosophers, so it's affecting my perception.
Yeah, the combat is pretty intuitive. I agree. No, I mean it's one of the gentlemen, I totally agree. I think I've been extremely impressed with the writing. I really have been. So kudos to Alex as well, because I'm very, very impressed.
Well, he's the one that as I told you at BioWare, I read some of this stuff, and in my mind I'm saying, man, I got to work with this guy someday. He was not a writer at BioWare, by the way. He was a senior cinematic designer. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was doing, the cinematic designs, and that's one of the big reasons he learned how to do the all the different paths in the writing was through his work at BioWare. But yeah, I'll tell him you guys really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That aspect of the game.
The DW, that Final Fantasy Tactics was definitely the prototype. You know, we implemented the UI based on how it worked, and strangely, we had it running PC Mac, and we did a lot of prototyping on the iPad because at the time
don't run over the coals.
I know. I already did it.
At the time, we had much smaller textures than we could run on the iPad very easily, and for all these years, I've had the iPad 1, and it's been very frustrating for me to see Apple sort of just abandon the iPad. Like, hey, you know that $600 device you bought 3 years ago? Well, it's abandoned. It's no longer useful. But I did get a new iPad recently to start working on porting the game to it, and
is there an Android port? As an Android guy myself, is there an Android port on the horizon of this?
So since we used Adobe Air compiles to native executables on PC Mac and Android and iOS. So, you know, we can compile an executable for Android right now. However, you know, there's resource constraints and a bunch of other things we have to tailor the game for. So there's still weeks to months of work to get it to run on either. But because of the technology we're using, porting it to iOS and porting it to Android is essentially the same work. It overlaps. It's not like a rewrite. It's not like two rewrites.
Mm-hmm.
It's one set of molding, of massaging the game to fit into the resource constraints of the various platforms.
Right.
So yeah, we have Android on our radar just as much. I think we'll probably do iOS first, but it's not really clear. I mean, we're just going to do.
You know,
What
Go on,
makes it,
John.
I'm going to start working on the technical side of it, of the porting, and if one's easier than the other, we'll do that one first.
You know, getting back to Final Fantasy Tactics, it was a long time ago. I really enjoyed it, and I played it again more recently, about a year ago. And you know, we did originally design the UI, the combat UI, after what Final Fantasy Tactics did, but I think that game, in some ways, looking back on it now, kind of belongs to a time gone by, and that it really is kind of a difficult game to play as far as the UI. I mean, it's not that intuitive, and there's a lot of button clicks. So it's funny, the people that were really into Final Fantasy Tactics are really into it, but you know, you bring new gamers into it, and sometimes it's hard to get them to play it.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. But part of it, of course, is the entire package. There's also a pretty impressive story there. There's the tactical side of it. There's also all the classes. You know, the overwhelming level of classes that you can promote.
Oh, yeah.
So you know,
Yep.
that's all part of it too, I guess. Let's see. The other thing I liked about the UI of this game, incidentally, is that everything feels, you know, if I click on somebody and I see that I could add, if I had more willpower, I could do something else. I like that I can click on the horn, then don't have to exit out of that menu, go back, then take the horn, go back in. You know, that's just little stuff, but it really helps add to the polish of the game.
I believe that was actually a bug at one point in Factions, where you know you would bring up your UI, click on the horn, the UI would not update. I vividly remember fixing that bug, so that now updates.
Very cool stuff. All right. Let's go after... Yeah, that's the next guy who I should be going after, so let me do that. Hey, Porquitos, what's up, man? Ah, killed my archer. It was... I knew it could happen. I took that risk. Alright. But I do sense a potential Tempest option coming up depending on how things go, so we'll see. I can still be happy about that. Let's see. And...
I would like to point out that all of the characters, so it's one of the things that is similar, between the similarity between this game and Don Bluth and the Bakshi stuff, like Lord of the Rings and Fire and Ice, is that in combat in particular, and in some of the cinematics as well, the characters are all rotoscoped. So these characters you see on the board are us. Arnie plays the human males.
I would be Eric and Luden.
Alex plays the Varl. I play the Dredge.
Did you guys draw lots for who got to be which, or?
No, we just kind of picked them. I mean,
We looked at our own kind of physical morphology.
Right, I was going to say, yeah.
Went with it.
And I'm a big fan of villains, so I liked being the Dredge. And Chili Stidham played the females.
Chili's John's girlfriend. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And we basically have a system, a really high-tech system of a ladder with a camera attached to the top, and there's a rope hooked to the ladder that stretches out across the ground to indicate the distance at which the actor should stand, and we film it in Arnie's front yard, and the neighbors walk by and wonder what the hell we're doing out there.
This is super high. I mean, this is like the high tech stuff that you know other studios wish they could be doing.
They wish they could do it like us. Like the camera's held by hand, and then basically we paint over every frame. And Arnie does the first frame, and the Powerhouse does the rest. And so all these animations are rotoscoped, and they have some kind of that same feel that you get from the rotoscope movies, like Fire and Ice or Lord of the Rings, or.
So even you can see Eric's cloak there, and I would tie something around my shoulders, and they would animate it from that.
That's really cool.
And that dialogue box that appeared obscured the beautiful death animation that I performed there as a Dredge falling on my face, giving myself a concussion.
I felt it though, even through the screen. It was.
So right here, you're given the option. Do you want to continue on and fight more? And if you want to fight more, you're going to get more renown and possibly an item if John's got it hooked up correctly. We have seen people get items. I guess it might not be possible in a charge scenario. But right here, if I were you, I would just put I would pull back before they regroup, because if you say kill a few more as they flee, we're going to throw a whole nother bundle at you, and you're going to go into it right with the same exact characters you just had beat up.
I see, and it's the same number of like 6 or whatever the number would be, or like the same number of guys is what I could expect. As opposed to just like say 2 or 3. I mean,
it's slightly weaker than the original fight that you went into, but your characters, if you lost 1 or 2, they're out.
One of the things we didn't get time to do is on this page, it would be really nice to be able to see the current situation, your current status of your party, like who's down, who has strength and armor. That's something that we had on our schedule that we just ran out of time for.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull back because yes. The dredge give you wide berths, scatter into the distance. Alright, I lost 2 fighters. Also, I have to say, I keep wanting to read that victory. The foes would know they were dead if they weren't, but it actually, I had to see about 6 times before I saw what it was, because it zips out of the way so fast. It does the, victory zip, and I'm like, wait, what? What about my foes?
That's funny, because it's slower in factions, and I sped everything up here because I felt like people weren't going to like waiting around for it, but maybe I sped it up a little bit too much.
I think for us single player guys, and I also have to say, Arnie, I just saw that you wrote that. I actually have streamed Heroes of Might and Magic and Might and Magic 2 on stream, and I love those games.
Oh gosh, Heroes of Might and Magic 2 with Crag Hack and all that. It's one of those games for me that is really
three was one of my favorites. 3. So we were talking about Linux stuff earlier. Somebody was asking about Linux port, and as a little background, I went to college, and all of my work there in physics was on Unix machines, Solaris, and Linux came out while I was in college, basically. And my first Linux installation was Slackware from like 15 floppy disks or something.
Okay.
That had been, downloaded, and it was the beginning of the web, and I used Linux exclusively for years and years. And I worked on Unix systems for years and years. And when Heroes of Might and Magic 3 came out for Linux, it was like this. It was a windfall. Whoa! It was so good. I played so much of that game. I really loved Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Yeah, really, really tremendous stuff. Glob, I'm very sorry to hear that, man. And yeah, pretty much as Glog said, it's the kind of thing that happens. But I am very sorry to hear that. Okay, so let's see. So what I was hoping to do is I could go in and upgrade my guys, but I didn't want to waste a camp to do it. Now, of course, I've run myself into another fight. So I'm trying to decide whether to... there's no way to know if I'm going to be doing a battle or a war type of thing. I guess the description in the text saying maybe 1,000 of them means that I'm looking at another war situation, I would assume. Is that fair to say? Can I draw a lot from what the text says in that regard, or is there some other obvious cue that will say... You're going into a, war style thing as opposed to just a regular everyday combat.
Do you want spoilers here? Or?
No. I don't want spoilers, definitely not. But I just wondered if, like in general, did like that happens, or is it just I'm making a decision based on the narrative and I just go with that?
You're making a decision based on the narrative, and in a situation like this, you just have to look at the 3 things and what do you think would be the best move for you?
Gotcha.
But oftentimes, in fact, most of the time in the game, Alex foreshadows major decisions, of which this is not one of them. But whenever lives hang in the balance and everything, you can usually look back earlier in the game, sometimes an hour or 2, 3 hours before, and you can make an informed decision based on that. This one right here is basically you're a leader of your caravan, and what is the best maneuver for you to make?
Right.
And that's going to be up to you here.
I'm going to try to get closer before making a move.
And sometimes a lot of what Alex was doing in this is just, sometimes people are saying, I didn't have enough information to go on, so, the game was really arbitrary to me. But our response to that is, so is life. I mean, that's the way life is. If you're a commander in the field, you make a decision, and that's what you live with, and you don't always know the outcome. So we wanted it to be kind of like that. I'm still trying to track back and see what happened with Glob. Everyone's saying sorry, Glob, and I missed it.
Oh, it's one of my regulars. I guess his grandfather is very ill, so he was telling us that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
But Glob is another one of the guys who's also been very generous as part of the stream and has, let me know about games I might not otherwise have known about as well. Tone report to Mogar. Don't sit the back lines. Make a mistake, you get your head caved in. Nobody will lose sleep over it, okay? Let's see. Still normal morale. Alright, close enough to hear dredge rattling through the buildings below. Let's just slither. Pull them out of the houses. Mogar suggests slag. Can't resist an ambush. Look better like an open field. Yeah, Shadowrun Returns. I've had the devs on my stream. Had actually one of them is a good friend of mine. Is the editor who bought my first novel, and he was the guy who did the anthology on which that came out with the game, and a lot of the people there were also writers, in the game as well. So that was a lot of fun. Also very good. Very different.
I was just talking in chat about that. Yeah, it's been on my list to play for a while. We were backers of that game, and I've been into Shadowrun lore for a long time.
Yeah.
I just haven't had the free time to actually play the game.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Do you guys have a game that you do play in your free time if it ever exists? I mean, like that's not your own.
Over the past month, I've been playing Don't Starve.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
It's freaking great. I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know what to expect. I knew nothing about it really, and I just tried it out one day, and I discovered that there's this deep sandbox game where you keep discovering things that you can do. I think I've kind of done everything I want to do in that game, but there was a lot there. I mean, I've gone a long way discovering how to fish and get bees, honeybees and stuff like that. There's one game, one game that I go back to when I'm just like, I need to just chill out, and I need to stop thinking about everything for a little while, and that's Civ 5.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I played Civ 5 a few days ago for like 6 hours, and
it's the just one more turn game.
It totally is. And Civ 5, I think Civ 5 has the flaw. The thing I don't like about Civ 5 is that the turns are so slow and they slow down over time. And I think all Civ games have been like that. And it's hard to really finish a game in Civ because you play for a few hours and you get that initial rush of progress, and the turn just gets slower and slower as it waits for the AI to do its thing.